Welcome to Clue Trail, where true stories unravel one step at a time. From crimes and cults to survival stories and the downright strange, we follow the twists that lead to the truth. If you're enjoying the show, check out Patreon for bonus episodes and early access. Just search Clue Trail or hit the link in the show notes. And don't forget to follow, rate, or review the podcast. It helps more curious minds find us. Now, let's dive into today's case. Today's story is one of deception, ego, and betrayal from deep within. Robert Hanssen wasn't some foreign agent who infiltrated America. He wore a suit, he went to church, he raised a family. And for over 20 years, he quietly passed America's most closely guarded secrets to its greatest enemy. Today on Clue Trail, we unravel the chilling story of Robert Hanssen, the man who infiltrated his own agency. A double life built on lies, paranoia, and more than $1.4 million in cash and diamonds. This is the story of trust shattered, lives lost, and how the most dangerous spy in FBI history almost got away with it. Robert Philip Hanssen was born on 18th of April 1944 in Chicago. On the surface, his life looked typical, devoutly Catholic, conservative, and family-orientated. But there was another side to this suburban normal family. Behind closed doors, his father, a Chicago police officer, was emotionally abusive and domineering. Nothing Robert was doing was ever good enough for his father. He grew up desperate for his approval. He studied chemistry at Knox College, then switched to business. But it was law enforcement that called to him. In 1968, Robert Hanssen began his career in law enforcement by joining the Chicago Police Department. No doubt he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. Starting out as a uniformed patrol officer, he quickly advanced to a position within the Organized Crime Control Unit. During this time, in this role, he had the opportunity to hone in his skills in surveillance and undercover operations, experience that would later prove invaluable in his espionage activities. He first applied to the FBI in 1972. But he was initially turned down due to agency budget constraints. Refusing to give up, he pursued further education and earned a law degree from Northwestern University in 1974. His determination eventually paid off. In 1976, Robert Hanssen was an FBI agent. He began his FBI career handling general criminal investigations. He then transferred to New York City in 1979. That is where he stepped into a world of counterintelligence, a move that would later change everything. From the start, he stood out. He was no doubt intelligent, highly educated, and deeply interested in law enforcement and national security. But he was also socially awkward, secretive, and deeply mistrustful. Even among colleagues, he was a loner. His goal was to be a field agent, to be in the middle of action, but again and again he was overlooked, even when he was eagerly putting his hand up. His job now was to view the action from the sidelines. He was tasked to analyze intelligence, track suspicious activity, and assess potential risks to the country. Ironically, he worked in the very division responsible for tracking foreign spies. So, now left frustrated, overlooked, always passed for a promotion, Hanssen took a shocking and dangerous step. He approached the Soviet embassy whilst on a work trip to Washington, D.C., and offered his services as a spy. Robert Hanssen's first act of treason wasn't the result of blackmail or even coercion. It was a calculated choice. In 1979, just 3 years after joining the FBI, Hanssen made his first anonymous approach to Soviet intelligence. It all started when he mailed a package to the Soviet GRU, the military intelligence agency. Inside that envelope, there were highly classified US intelligence. During this first period of espionage, he provided the Soviets with an alarming amount of sensitive information. But perhaps his most devastating betrayal was leaking the identity of a Russian double agent like Dmitry Polyakov. He was a top-ranking Soviet general and a long-time CIA informant. Polyakov has spent years supplying US intelligence with invaluable information. Thanks to both Hanssen and later CIA mole Aldrich Ames, Polyakov was eventually arrested by the Soviets in 1986 and executed 2 years later. Robert Hanssen didn't take this extreme step for ideology. He wasn't a Soviet sympathizer. If anything, he was an ultra-conservative Catholic who once told a friend that communism was evil. For him, this was about superiority. It was about his ego, proving he is above others, more intelligent, more cunning, proving to himself that he shouldn't have been overlooked. And eventually, it was about money. By that point, Robert Hanssen had a growing family, 3 children he had to support, and New York wasn't cheap. In exchange for his information, the Soviets paid him just over $20,000. He used the money to help pay off debt and support his family. That was only the beginning. The most dangerous part, he was never caught doing this in that period. Well, at least not by the FBI. You see, hiding $20,000 in cash wouldn't be easy. It's not like you can deposit them in a bank account. That would raise suspicions. So Hanssen resorted in stashing some of this cash in the garage and only spending the money on groceries, gas, and generally things that wouldn't raise suspicions. He was careful not to live beyond his means. All was fine. He was flying under the radar. Until one morning when he had to come clean about what he has done to his wife, Bonnie. He was in his garage that morning when she caught him sneaking around, being all suspicious. Her first thought, he is hiding evidence of an affair. But when he came clean to what he was hiding, nothing could have prepared her for that. He lied, saying he only shared unimportant intel, nothing that would cause harm. He said he did it only for money. He was desperate to provide for them. He won't do it again. Bonnie made him promise to stop, he cannot do this again and he needs to confess to their past. So, confessed he did. He kept his head down and he stopped spying. Well, at least for a while. By the time 1985 rolled around, things were getting a bit hard in the Hanssen household. He was struggling financially. The FBI salary wasn't as high as he might have expected, and being overlooked again and again for the jobs he wanted only made him angrier. So, he returned to espionage. But this time, he was even more calculated. Instead of contacting the GRU, he switched to the big guns, the KGB. His code name? Ramon Garcia. That October in 1985, he sent an anonymous letter to the KGB where he offered his services as a spy in exchange for $100,000 in cash. To prove he is serious and this isn't the ruse cooked up by the FBI, he included, yet again, the name of 3 KGB agents secretly working with the FBI. Now, what Hanssen didn't know at that time was that the other mole, Aldrich Ames, had already exposed these agents earlier that year. Still, Hanssen's letter added weight to their exposure and cemented their fate. It was a twisted race between moles who could get secrets to the Soviets first. But how did he get all this intel? It's not like the FBI would share it freely with any employee. Well, his desk job, although boring to others, placed him right at the heart of some of the Bureau's most sensitive operations. He was assigned to the budget office, which gave him access to an incredibly broad range of classified information, especially around surveillance and wiretapping. Basically, it was his job to oversee many of those electronic surveillance activities, and he quickly developed a reputation as one of the FBI's go-to experts in computer systems. He was in this role for a few years in New York until another opportunity arose in 1987 to move back to the FBI headquarters in Washington. Ironically, his new assignment was to investigate potential moles. He was specifically tasked to figure out who had betrayed those Soviet agents, and in doing so, he managed to hide in plain sight. Hanssen not only did he avoid exposing himself, but he handed over the entire mole hunting report, including a list of every Soviet contact the FBI had, straight to the KGB. It was a stunning level of infiltration. Then came 1989, one of Hanssen's most damaging years. Perhaps the most devastating consequence was his betrayal of key double agents, men who were later executed. It's unclear if Hanssen ever truly grasped the human cost of his actions. He also exposed an underground eavesdropping tunnel built by the FBI beneath the Soviet embassy in Washington, a multi-million-dollar project that was rendered useless overnight. Hanssen revealed how the US tracked Soviet satellites and even exposed how American counterintelligence identified foreign spies. That year, he compromised the FBI investigation into Felix Bloch, a State Department official suspected of espionage. Hanssen warned the KGB that Bloch was under surveillance, prompting them to cut off communication. And if all of that wasn't enough, Hanssen also gave the Soviet a complete list of American double agents once more. This was no longer just one man trading secrets for cash. This was a deeply embedded, deliberate betrayal, calculated and cold. And still, no one knew. By now, he became extremely cautious and methodical. He would often use secret locations in parks or under bridges, where he would leave classified material and the Soviets would later retrieve it. This also became an obsession for him. He would even miss on family time to make a job, to please his newfound friends. Robert Hanssen never met his handlers face to face. They only communicated via code, encryption, and misdirection, all under the FBI's nose, and they had no idea. By 1991, the world was changing. The Soviet Union, the very nation Hanssen had been feeding secrets for over a decade, collapsed. And just like that, his handlers disappeared. Hanssen went quiet. There were no more dead drops, no more encrypted letters, no envelopes filled with secrets exchanged for diamonds. Just silence. Hanssen didn't stop spying because of remorse. He stopped because he didn't know whom to trust anymore. He made several attempts to contact the GRU and others across the years, but nothing spanned out. And with the Cold War now sort of over, the FBI had few reasons to look for active spies. Hanssen saw this as a time to regroup. His only option was to remain in the FBI. He even managed to climb the ranks, even helping design internal security measures. He was placed in counterintelligence, tasked with protecting US secrets from foreign espionage. The fox was now guarding the henhouse. But the silence didn't last, because he was never going to stop. In 1999, nearly a decade after his last transmission, Hanssen reached out to Russian intelligence, offering his services again. Ramon Garcia was back, and this time more dangerous than ever. By the year 2000, whispers were circulating inside the FBI. Years earlier, several devastating counterintelligence failures, the unmasking of US agents, the leaking of massive classified material, all had been blamed on a single mole, Aldrich Ames. But he was arrested in 1994. So, have they been looking in the wrong direction? They knew there was another mole. For a while, suspicion had fallen on CIA officer Brian Kelly, a man who had nothing to do with it. He was followed, interrogated, surveilled, but in the end, they knew it wasn't Kelly. In 2001, years after quietly betraying his country, Hanssen made one final mistake. Not being caught for so many years, always flying under the radar, no doubt made him cocky. After re-establishing contact with Russian intelligence, he resumed his old methods: letter drops hidden beneath footbridges, classified documents sealed in trash bags, and cryptic notes signed R. But this time, the FBI was finally closing in. They had launched a top-secret task force along CIA back in '94, focused solely on tracking down the mole. Eventually, a breakthrough came for them. They learned of the existence of a file which could expose the identity of this mole. All they had to do was to pay $7 million to a former KGB agent. With the investigation not moving anywhere, they did. The file had an incredible amount of vague information, but most crucial, It included a partial fingerprint, a voice recording, and the code name, Ramon Garcia. FBI agent Michael Wackerspack was tasked reviewing the recordings related to Ramon Garcia until something familiar he heard in these recordings piqued his interest. It was a phrase he heard, which he couldn't place it at first. Just a nagging feeling that he'd heard it before, a reference to General George S. Patton's infamous speech on Japanese soldiers. It was oddly specific and strangely familiar. FBI analyst Rob King, also working on this task, remembered it clearly. Hanssen was known for quoting military leaders, and Patton was one of his favorites. With that connection made, Wackerspack played the tape again, this time with a sharper ear, and it clicked. The voice was Robert Hanssen. From there, all the pieces fell into place. The FBI moved very quick and cross-referenced dates, drops, and case details, and everything aligned with Hanssen's activity. Then came the final confirmation. 2 fingerprints lifted from a trash bag tied to the espionage case. When they ran the print, there was no doubt left. They belonged to Robert Hanssen. On February 18, 2001, in Foxton Park, Virginia, Robert Hanssen walked across a small wooden bridge. He knelt and placed a sealed package under a wooden platform, his last dead drop. He was arrested moments later. A 25-year betrayal ended in a quiet park. Hanssen's reaction? Reportedly calm. He looked at the agents and simply said, "What took you so long?" After his arrest, Robert Hanssen was charged with 15 counts of espionage in what would become one of the most devastating intelligence breaches in US history. To avoid the death penalty, he struck a plea deal, admitting guilt in exchange for a life sentence. In July 2001, Hanssen was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole and was transferred to ADX Florence, the Supermax prison in Colorado, known for housing the most dangerous inmates. There, Hanssen spent 23 hours a day in near total isolation inside a small concrete cell. He died in 2023, found unresponsive in his cell at the age of 79. But long before his death, the damage had already been done. The FBI called him the most damaging spy in Bureau history. His betrayal wasn't just about documents and data, it was about people. Hanssen exposed some of the United States' most critical national security operations, from nuclear war defense strategies to the identities of double agents operating in the Soviet Union. Several of those agents were executed as a direct result of his actions. Across the years, there were several moments when Hanssen raised suspicions, but each time he slipped through the cracks. In 1990s, his own brother-in-law, also an FBI agent, reported odd behavior and unexplained cash, but nothing came of it. In the late 80s, colleagues noted a serious security breach during a debriefing with a Soviet defector, again with no consequences. Even in 1993, when Hanssen was caught hacking into a colleague's computer under the guise of testing system security, he was merely given a warning. Time and time again, red flags were waved, but no one looked close enough. The cost of Hanssen's espionage was immeasurable. It wasn't just secrets lost, it was entire intelligence operations compromised and lives destroyed. The Robert Hanssen case didn't just end with a life sentence. It shook the foundation of American intelligence. In its aftermath, the FBI was forced to confront serious vulnerabilities. Sweeping reforms followed, with tighter internal surveillance, more rigorous background checks, and stricter rules of who can access classified information. The Bureau began looking inward with a new level of scrutiny. Hanssen didn't act out of political conviction or loyalty to a foreign power. According to his own confession, his motive was simple: money. But his handlers saw something more. A man with a grandiose sense of self-importance. Someone who believed he was untouchable. And for over 2 decades, he was. In his mind, he was the ultimate spy, just not for the country he had sworn to serve. To this day, we may never know the full extent of the secrets Hanssen gave away. But what we do know is chilling enough. His actions compromised national security, cost lives, and triggered a reckoning that forever changed the way the US protects its intelligence.